And we are live. Tonight, we're joined by an absolute legend, one of my greatest mentors, and an incredible asset to the chiropractic community at large, Dr. Marvin Talsky, also known as the godfather of Tonal. Welcome, brother. So, I know, man. It's taking some time, and I know the goal is to connect and connect again and connect again at the higher level, and hopefully we get to share some of that wisdom. But it seems that we're on. We got good signal, and all should be well moving forward. Let me bring you onto the screen. I'm sorry, brother. There we go. Should be coming on. Wow. All right, there he is. I was speaking to myself there. I gotta put your image in. All right, so here we go. And so I was first introduced to Dr. Talsky, I think it was back in 2017 now, which when I attended my first Talsky Tonal seminar, and then had him come to the Artful Convention to speak in 2018, where he was awarded, the Artistry Award, Lifetime Artistry Award, and was freaking stoked to give that to you. But you've just had such a huge influence in my life and chiropractors around the world, and wanted to take a moment just to share some of your wisdom with Kairos training culture and just other chiropractors that haven't had an opportunity to connect with you yet. And so you are in your 55th year of practice, about to go into the 56th year in July.
Yes.
So I imagine you've seen some things on your path. And so I think it'd be beautiful just to kind of tell a little bit about your journey in regards to the art, philosophy, and science of chiropractic, catching us up till today, and then we can dive in on some tonal principles.
Well, I think the important thing to emphasize is that I became a chiropractor because getting in touch with the principles that chiropractic is based on. It was the principles that attracted me, and it's the principles that have kept me on purpose. One of my many teachers, a man very few people have heard of lately, was Wes Trout. He had an organization called Living Principles. And he had a saying, if you don't stand for one thing, you'll fall for anything. If you don't stand for one thing, you'll fall for anything. And basically what that means, if it's not obvious, is that if you're not connected to an idea or a principle, then you're just moved by whatever's popular or whatever attracts your attention or whatever distraction comes along. There's been a lot of confusion about what chiropractic is and what it isn't, and it revolves around what you're doing. But chiropractic is not based really on what you're doing. It's based upon why you're doing what you're doing, what you're looking for, and why.
Can we pause there? Why does that matter? Because I mean, I definitely think there would be some in chiropractic that would say it is all about the what, right? And get lost in the what. You get taught a lot of what in chiropractic school. So why does the why matter?
The why matters is because what you're doing and what guides what you're doing now and in the future is really governed by what you're looking for, what you believe you're looking for. So if you don't have a connection to principle, then why are you doing what you're doing? Because if what you're doing is to make people feel less symptoms, for instance, then if the chiropractic thing you're doing doesn't seem to do it, and your purpose is to make them feel less symptoms, then you have to do something else to cover up the symptoms.
Right.
So,
and I think you said something really important there, which I believe I caught, which I think would be good to get into even right now, is I can ask it as a question. does the thought of what am I focusing on matter? So say you're focused on symptom, then is what you are going to perceive be different than if you were focused on something else?
Absolutely.
Right.
So there's an old saying, I'll believe it when I see it. But in truth is, you see it when you believe it.
Yeah, I feel you. And
We
yeah,
we tend to perceive what we expect to perceive,
right.
what we believe we're going to what we believe we're going to perceive.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, uh, you know, over the years, I've talked to people that um, were shown a car they didn't even know existed, and then all of a sudden they're seeing it all the time.
Right.
So were the cars not there before? No, they were there before, but you weren't aware of those cars, and your awareness wasn't open to what was around you. So we don't see like a camera sees.
Right.
We see through our beliefs and experiences. Um,
This learning this pieces of this from you had a huge influence on my book. Right. So I have a whole chapter that goes into this, and it talks a lot about we don't perceive things as they are. We perceive things as we think they are, and the potential misperception that exists in that. Right.
yes,
So, and the again, like, I mean, how many misperceptual layers can exist based on our past trauma, based on our past experiences, based on our belief systems, based on our paradigms, based on our education. And so it's really important to understand that we are not seeing it like it is. And then even deeper than that is our ability to see and perceive and to listen and to feel and to hear and to acknowledge expands the more we connect to the depths of self. And
yep,
so there becomes a new perceptual template or grid that becomes available from the one that has attuned themselves and connected to spirit.
what I've been focusing on lately and working with some people locally is observing without judging.
Yes.
That's very important,
Mm-hmm.
um, because if you really want to connect yourself to what's happening around you, you need to stop judging. You need to
Right.
just be open and say to yourself, what's happening? Stop thinking when you're in the middle of an experience. Um, Stop thinking.
Now I have my own thoughts on what judgment does, but I would love to hear from you. When we observe something and then immediately try to place it or have a judgment for it, what do you think that does?
It collapses the possibilities and freezes you in your judgment.
Amen. So what you're talking about is the potential quantum factor, right? Of collapsing the
Yes.
wave of all potential, and then locking it into more of the particle form, um, based on just again the judgment itself. So we're losing the infinite possibility.
Right.
Right.
Absolutely. One of the things I've been saying, I have, that I have been evolving an I am affirmative life declaration. And one of the later things I've been putting in is I forgive myself for judging all uncomfortable symptoms, physically or emotionally.
Damn. Woo, that's a new one. I like that one. I
Yes,
forgive. Like, can you say it one more time? That's fucking
yeah,
good. And by the way, if you guys are liking where we're already going, make sure to put some likes, loves, or hearts or whatever's on there. And also, if you have questions, this is our time with Talsky here. So if you have some questions that you'd want us to get through tonight, please post it as well. So can you repeat that one
Yeah.
more time?
So I go over a number of affirmations in the present tense, and I'm very careful about what I attach to the I am, whatever I attach to I am. And so one of the things I've added recently is I forgive myself. I forgive myself for judging all uncomfortable symptoms physically and emotionally.
Whew, yeah. Yeah, that was a huge lesson for me, and I believe it was inspired from you. Is realizing that we are here to help facilitate, right, the evolution of the soul.
Yes.
Which sometimes the soul's lesson is not in comfort and not in symptom relief, but the lesson that is within the discomfort and within the pain and within that challenge. And it's not for us to remove it.
Yeah. What is this telling me?
Yes. Can I share an experience I actually had last night?
Why not?
Okay. So last night I was as the most tapped in I've ever been in my life. Just connected, sensitive, feeling, listening. And I had a practice member come in who hadn't been in about 9 months, right? And he does this often. He'll catch a flow and then he'll disappear and then he'll come in, when something's really bad, so severe neck pain. And, and he's leaving on a 3-week vacation the next day. I'm like, oh, just like you to come in and put me bottom of 9th inning, 2 outs and expect me to hit a home run, right? So anyway, he comes in, extreme neck pain, and I start connecting with him, and I'm listening, right? And he couldn't barely turn his neck, and his neck's completely swollen and inflamed, and all of it, right? And just to the touch, like wincing. And so I started just doing some light, opening moves, just connecting and listening, and I'm noticing everything build to the left side of the body, and again, staying open, not judging it. Not needing an answer, but just being open, connection, listening. And I'm noticing everything is going to the left front of the neck. And he had mentioned, I said, did anything happen? No, he woke up like that. And where were you? What happened? Well, I was visiting my mother. And I'm connecting left side. I know left side has to do with the more feminine part of ourself, and it's front of the neck. And front of the neck can sometimes relate to future. Especially when the energy projects forward. And so I start picking up and I start getting hits that this is potential future disappointment or frustration. And I believe it's associated with mom. So I ask him, like, hey, I'm picking up. We have a relationship where I can share these things with him. Not every client or practice member you're going to go all the way there with. But I'm like, I'm picking up the left side of your neck that this has to do with future disappointment and or frustration. And he's like, yeah, it's a real difficult time with my mom. She has dementia, and she's just really difficult to be around. And I don't see things getting any better. And really, they're just going worse. And it's really hard to deal with. And then I let him lay there for another 10, 15 minutes. I come back and see if anything's opening up or if there's access or a
So you have not made contact?
I have not. I'm just listening. Just listening. And I come back, and this time when I come back, I picked up the future frustration and or disappointment was misplaced. It was actually sadness. And so, anyway, I end up, connecting with him, and now I make contacts and help the pattern unwind. And I first was the relaxation of tone, like, okay, this is a sign of we're getting better parasympathetic tone through the skin. Right? He was real hot and sweaty, and then it started to cool down, and then the muscle rigidity started, and then spasms started started to release. And then I went to another person, then I come back and everything then was rigid again. I was like, oh shit, what happened? I thought I was just relaxing. And then I looked at his eyes and he's crying. And then as he gets
So he's
up,
on his
uh,
back.
he's on his back. And then as he gets up, leans forward, just like, let it rain. Just let it rain, man. And so to me, again, it's just like, there's so much here for us as chiropractors. And again, we don't have to treat any of the mental, emotional, spiritual side of things, but through our connections and through our listening, and whether we relay the information or don't relay the information, we're creating a space for the person to heal. But the lesson wasn't in him, because I checked in with him today. The neck pain is just decreased slightly, but his awareness of why the neck pain is there, because I looked him in the eye, right? As soon as he's crying for like 3 to 5 minutes, I look in the eye, and I said, if you didn't have this neck pain, you would have never slowed down enough to feel this in this moment. And he was just like, he texted me, he's just like so freaking, he's like, oh man, I'm just so grateful. The neck pain has decreased slightly, but like, I'm just really feeling this all. And he's like, just thank you for being there for me. And thank you for seeing me in the way that you did. I'm just so grateful. And again, it wasn't about removing his pain. It was about just connecting with another human being and allowing them, to go through their process. And I didn't have to steal his pain. I didn't have to steal his lesson. And that's a testament to the work, and a testament to a lot of the principles I've learned from you. And so I don't think that would have been possible if it wasn't through that journey of opening up to just to be listening and to be in it. And so thank you, brother.
So there's many things we do as our awareness increases. I probably would have handled that differently than you did, though you are comfortable with what you did, and apparently the person you were working with was comfortable with what you did. But me, I'm always focused on where in the neurospinal system is this open. If I'm feeling a lot of tension in the neck, that's sort of telling me,
stay away.
Don't work here.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm looking for ease, open areas in the neurospinal system. Where in that system is it open and receptive to input?
Right.
So to me, the number one skill of a chiropractor is finding where in the system is it open to accepting input.
Mm-hmm.
So you remember that I have expanded the understanding of an adjustment. The adjustment, philosophically, from the beginning, is what the body does.
Mm-hmm.
It's not what we do. What we do is facilitate an adjustment. So we can facilitate an adjustment mechanistically by applying force to put movement in. Or we can communicate a corrective intent through touch. The skill, to me, is finding the most open place in the neurospinal system to communicate a corrective intent at that time.
Right. And the trend that is taught even in vitalistic schools, with a mechanistic approach, is where is the most locked down, fixated place, right? And that is where we want to, force something to go into quote unquote proper or corrected position. But I think something that really helped me, which I'd love you to get into in this, is again understanding what it is that we are facilitating and what is the main system that we're working with. And so you talk about the different models of the mechanistic model versus more of the tonal model, and then even gave a name for what that includes. And so if you want to get into that, and what is the purpose of the adjustment and what's happening there?
Well, to me, a subluxation, to use the chiropractic term, and it's okay to have an evolving understanding of what subluxation is or may be.
Yeah.
But in life terms, uh, living life terms, to me, a subluxation is a blown circuit breaker. Um, it's it's a protective mechanism that the body uses to shut down an area of function when it's being overwhelmed.
Mm.
So it could be from overwhelming force from outside the body, overwhelming chemical force, or it can be, and this is the most common in the past 2 generations, the most common is exaggerated response to perceived stress.
Hmm.
So subluxating yourself from inside out because we're responding to everyday stresses like they're life threatening, like we're being attacked by a tiger or a bear, and we're we have to survive, we have to save our life. So we go into maximum sympathetic, and the response in the body is excessive to the actual current stress.
Hmm.
So we're perceiving stress beyond what's there. So um, we activate. We have these unrelenting demands of having to rush from here to there, having to get this done because in a minute you're going to have to do something else, and and then having to deal with distractions and demands that come along that are unexpected or less expected, and um, so we're in sympathetic throughout the entire day. There's no, we don't give our body a chance to recoup,
Hmm.
to adjust itself like it's designed to, and unfortunately, chiropractic got itself into a fix it mentality. Uh, uh, Lay yourself down there and I'll fix you. I came in to get fixed. I need to get fixed. We're not fixing people. We're facilitating intelligent systems to regain control.
Mm.
We're facilitating initial contact is to get people back into parasympathetic, receptive to corrective input. And
Hmm.
we're facilitating the body to adjust itself by finding the right place and communicating a corrective intent through touch.
Yes.
A
So
corrective,
and something that was real helpful for me there is when you break down, because there's a big tendency to get lost in intersegmental fixation, right?
yes,
And even to the point of viewing subluxations, whether you're doing full spine x-rays or whether you're doing motion palpation, but like identifying certain key areas that these are the subluxations and the subluxations don't change. Those are the main ones, but there could be different indicators on whether it's subluxated or not because, whether you're doing thermography or you're doing whatever else, but like those are the ones, right? It's like we're discovering the what, and then potentially there's other technologies that help just discover the when. And with that said, it's easy to get lost on the segment instead of viewing the whole, what do you say, cranial, spinal, meningeal, functional unit, if I remember it correctly.
yes,
Um,
you do, or neurospinal system.
Right. And so that was helpful for me because then when I started adjusting, every time I make an adjustment, and we teach this as biotensegrity within Kairos training culture, but every single adjustment I do now, I mean, at least for the last 3+ years, even if I'm connecting to one specific point, it has the whole system in thought and thinking about, okay, what's happening with the spinal cord here? What's happening at the layer of the disc? How does that cord then go all the way up again and wrap the cranium and all? It's just like it has everything in mind.
Yeah, but we don't have to figure that out. We have to be aware of it and,
Right.
and understand that the old concept of separate subluxations is not accurate. That we're dealing with a synchronous, integrated unit. the brain and spinal cord, the multi-layered meningeal system, the bony structure of the cranium, vertebral column and pelvis, and most importantly, the connections of
Mm-hmm.
all that to each other, especially the uh, the meningeal system to the bony structure, the movable bony structure.
Yeah.
Um,
And so you say something that was actually the most powerful quote for me from our first seminar together. There's been many more since then. Was chiropractors have been historically great at helping people break free from a stuck pattern and evolve into a new stuck pattern. And that one hit me like a ton of bricks. I would love you to explain that a little deeper. And then we do have some questions coming in.
yes, the actual quote was all forms of chiropractic are very effective at breaking people out of their stuck pattern, but mechanistic techniques tend to advance them to a higher level of stuck pattern, which well meaning chiropractors started calling maintenance care. So if you adjust the same segments in the same order, visit after visit, you are supporting or creating a pattern
Yeah.
in
And
the
so,
system.
and there's a role within tonal, which is what?
I'm not sure what you mean by that
You say
question.
never adjust the same. Yeah.
In other words, based upon increasing understanding and awareness, uh, I put it into a protocol, never adjust the same segments in the same order any 3 visits in a row. So that's putting a protocol directive on on applying a principle to the body you're working with.
Mm-hmm.
That's why
Amen.
I say base everything you do on principles. Um, and then so people have asked me, how do you how is it that you can make discoveries after being in practice so long and continue to make discoveries? Because my purpose remains the same, and that is to get better understanding of the neurospinal system and how to more effectively facilitate the body to progressively keep making corrections.
Mm-hmm.
Would, and I just want to add another thing that's not part of the question, and that is why do people need ongoing chiropractic for the rest of their lives? And that's for 2 reasons. One is because we're working at reversing layer upon layer of stuck patterns from abusive lifestyles uh, for most of your life.
Mm-hmm.
And number two, we're still going back in that environment um, and resubluxating ourselves. And you tend to subluxate yourself again and again to the deepest patterns already there.
Mm.
So, therefore, it requires that you see people more often in this civilization this unnatural civilization we've created for ourselves. You see people more often and you do less more often.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
The idea of doing everything you can do on a visit is disempowering.
Right. Which
We, we
which
want
you
we
yeah,
want to get we
go
want
ahead.
to get the body started and
Yeah.
we want to keep it going.
Yeah. Which you've talked about, the adjustment, right, happening from the internal adaptation. And as chiropractors, we're used to one main way that happens from external force, right? The internal adaptation from external force, but there are two more.
Yes, um, that the question that you're actually asking me is how does the body adjust itself?
Mm-hmm.
The body adjusts itself by um, through innate forces. Innate forces are corrective forces that accomplish an adjustment. And where do innate forces come from? They come from adapting external forces, and they come from harnessing internal forces through your own breath and your own muscular movements.
Right. And there within lies some of the power of the tonal work, especially when it comes to the communication of intent through touch, of corrective intent through touch, and often some of the lighter applications, because in that it's allowing the person to receive, to become more aware, sensitive, and then navigate both through breath and through movement. And so something that I've observed you doing, and it's in the module, is that when connecting, to the most open window, or where there's most access, or most ability to receive and adapt, that you'll have the person breathe into that area, and then breathing and nodding, right? So facilitating those internal forces. So I'd love to get into some of the questions that we have.
Sure.
Slater Murphy's been dropping some wisdom in the comment thread that I'm seeing, and seems to have a pretty deep insight within the quantum and chiropractic philosophy. One of the questions he asked is, could a subluxation be seen as effectively a quantum entrapment of energy, when what all this stress on our system is energy that our system does not have the bandwidth to organize and adapt to?
I appreciate the question. And in order to understand the question, the answer, I have to say a couple of things. Number one, we are physical bodies. And I learned chiropractic as a physical application of physical force to a physical body. And the emphasis was on physicality. And in the 80s, the 1980s, there was the discovery and appreciation of energy and the recognition that interpenetrating all physical matter, especially living physical matter, there's interpenetrating and surrounding all physical matter was a field of energy. So there was a shift in mass consciousness, a shift in chiropractors, and everybody thought everything is energy, and everything that we're working with is energy. Well, to an extent, yeah, we were recognizing the layer that underlies and interpenetrates the physical matter, the field of energy. But what hasn't come into mass consciousness yet is that underlying all physical matter and all energy fields is an unbroken field of intelligence. An unbroken field of intelligence. And that's really what chiropractic was discovered to work with. Intelligence, the field of intelligence. I'm gaining deeper understandings about um, the first principle that chiropractic is based on, the 33 principles. Number one, the major premise. The major premise of chiropractic is there is a universal intelligence which is constantly giving to all matter its qualities and characteristics, thus maintaining everything in existence. My paraphrase, thus maintaining the entire physical universe in existence. So it doesn't say there is a universal intelligence which at one time in the past created the universe. It says there's a universal intelligence which is now constantly uh, um, actually creating the universe from moment to moment.
Mm.
That's what we need to understand, and we are in it.
Mm.
It's not removed from us. We're in it. We're in it. And why is that the major premise? And if it is the major premise, why are we not depending on that?
Right.
So to me, a subluxation is a stuck pattern. It's a stuck pattern in intelligence, which either gives rise to giving direction to energy or it keeps energy stuck. A stuck pattern keeps energy stuck.
Yeah.
So
Which could still be 100%, because I know that's another principle. It's always 100%, but is it in the 100% ideal flow, right? Or ideal harmonization?
Well, the thing I want to emphasize about that is we need to stay, a chiropractor needs to stay connected to universal intelligence because that's where all the answers come from.
We're in alignment, brother.
That's where all the answers come from.
All right, I'm gonna have us move on to and thank you, Slater. We appreciate you, brother. This one's from Dr. Andy Bird, who practices in Nashville. He says different cultures have different beliefs in how we communicate with the universe, especially when we're creating. When we're bringing our intention and focus to certain levels within a system, tissue or beyond, and we want them to change, is it the bringing of our awareness to them that initiates change? Must we request that the tissues change? Must we command it? It's all question marks there.
Well, there we go again. The answer lies in dependency on the field of intelligence that we're in. The answer depends on that. It's not for us to figure out what the body's supposed to do.
Right.
That's one of the uniquenesses of chiropractic. That's what separates chiropractic from every other approach to healing and health.
Right.
All approaches to healing and health is find out what's wrong, name it, and treat it.
Right.
Either with medicine or natural alternatives to medicine. The potential of chiropractic is different. It's different. It's not about figuring out what's wrong. It's not about naming what's wrong. It's about having enough faith and confidence in the intelligence of the life in each person that comes to you to just free the blockages and let that intelligence do what's best for it.
Yeah.
So it's not trying to tell tissues what to do. It's about a broader, holding a broader vision for what can be in as little specificity as possible.
So, right. And I think that was probably the detail of the question, right? Is because again, in the module you'll go through, corrective intent, and that can mean different things to different people, right? And I think especially from the majority, initially that corrective intent could be remove the subluxation and the tension or whatever I'm feeling at this point to experience more ease. But there's layers to the bigness of the corrective intent, which would be based on your level of connection to the universal intelligence. And as we start to comprehend and perceive more of the universal intelligence and the infiniteness that it is, then we can open ourselves up to more possibility and the infiniteness of the possibility. Which becomes its own vibration, for me, and this has been communicated many times, many ways, but chiropractic is less about what we do and more about who we be and how we show up. Because if you're talking about corrective intent, right, or even discovery of an open window, the discovery of an open window is going to be based on your perceptual lens, and that's based on who you be. Your corrective intent is going to be based on your connection to self, and self, or to source, or to spirit, or to universal intelligence, to God, love, all of whatever you want to and how you perceive it. But your being is the facilitator of this person's, reconnection and healing. And so one of the greatest things that we can do is continue to open up our perception and connection.
Yeah, but it's important. I agree with what you're saying, but it's important um, to distinguish the gift of chiropractic from psychic healing.
Yeah, I would love you to drop that in now. I think it's a very important lesson.
Because psychic healing, everything you were just describing and saying can be attributed to psychic healing.
Sure.
But we're here and psychic healing works, or can work, is a better way of putting it.
Sure.
But chiropractic has uniqueness.
Right.
We're here in a physical body, in a physical universe, having a physical experience. That's important.
Mm-hmm.
That's important because that's only part of life.
Right.
The physical experience is only part of life.
Right.
But that's what chiropractic was discovered and designed to deal with, the physical.
You have to communicate a saying here.
Yes, I'm leading up to it.
Cool.
So the gift of chiropractic is congruent action, congruent thought, intent, and physical action. Congruent thought, intent, and physical action. So I always like to quote BJ's pun. I'm not sure I would call it a pun, but that's what BJ called it. and it's quoted as that in the Green Books.
Mm-hmm.
BJ's pun is Christian Science, psychic healing, always mind, never matter. Medicine and other physical approaches, always matter, never mind. Chiropractic, the connector. So chiropractic is meant to combine intent with congruent action in the present tense.
Right.
So yes, the consciousness and awareness is important. So another thing that's important to say at this moment is that there's no such thing as an innate to innate contact.
Yes.
That what's called what they're driving at, there's no such thing as an innate to innate contact, because innate by definition is that perfect, non-judging, non-rationalizing intelligence of survival of living matter.
Mm-hmm.
So innate intelligence is that surviving intent, the intelligence of life within a physical body. So it's only concerned with the physical body it's in, nothing else. And when life leaves the physical body, there's no innate intelligence.
Right.
So really, the relationship between a chiropractor and a person who comes for chiropractic help is the relationship between the chiropractor's educated intelligence and the person's need. And what takes place, what a chiropractor finds, is what he or she is able to deal with in the need that person came in with.
Yeah.
So different chiropractors have different degrees of educated intelligence, experience, and ability to deal with the same person in different ways. So every chiropractor with basic training has the ability of being of help to some degree to everyone who comes to them. Mm-hmm. But it's not the same for each chiropractor dealing with that same person.
Yeah. Thank you, brother. Man, deep wisdom. I hope y'all have dug this so far. We've been on about almost 50 minutes, 45 minutes now. And we've dropped in some deep wisdom, man. Before we get off, so I mean, just so also everybody's aware, if you haven't noticed yet, our very first ever, what we're calling the Masters Collection module with Dr. Marvin Talsky just released this last Wednesday. And so far, we're being blown away with what people are saying about it. And we kind of knew that was going to come. But, Marvin Talsky, currently you're doing about how many seminars a year? We're doing about, what, 4 to 5 now a year?
Well, as most of the people know, I structured torque release technique in 1995 and co-founded the technique with a protege of mine, Jay Holder. And I taught the technique portion of the first 51 seminars.
Mm-hmm.
Jay Holder is very entrepreneurial, and he did a lot of marketing, and so much so that torque release technique has clubs in almost every campus now, and is accepted as an elective in many colleges. And I believe it's still going.
Mm-hmm.
And but I left it in 2001. I left it with Jay, and I restructured the work because I was making discoveries. I started making discoveries and refinements, which was changing. Excuse me. What I structured as torque release technique. So I've been evolving the work. So I restructured it in 2001, and I've been teaching techniques. I have not done any advertising. Mm-hmm. I've only sent out notices when I set up a seminar. And I set up seminars from 2001 to about, 2015. And I put out the word, I'm no longer going to set up any seminars myself, except in my own office occasionally. But I'll go anywhere in the world where someone else sets up the seminar. I'll come and teach. So I've been teaching about averaging 4 seminars a year.
Yep.
In 2018, I did 5. I was invited to do 5 seminars. In 2019, I was invited to do 7 seminars.
You got involved with somebody in 2018, didn't you?
Yes, I got involved with Brett Jones.
My brother, you were such a gift at the Artful Convention, and I was just so stoked for people to finally get to see you and meet you and hear from you. And you said something really powerful. You said you felt like you've been waiting your whole life for this millennial generation to come along. And
actually, yes, you're right. What I actually said was, I've been training all my life for the millennials.
And here we are, baby. And here we are. But one of the main points I wanted to make in this is currently, you're saying you did 7 last year. And by the way, if you want to book Marvin Talsky to come your way, please do. Being in this man's field is, it's absolutely incredible. And I do encourage that. And if you are one of the people, because he does keep the seminars limited to how many people?
19.
Yeah, so typically 19 is the cap. And that's one of the big reasons that we wanted to film this module. We know that this work needs to continue and to be spread to as many people as possible, because the principles in this work, the principles alone, will drastically change the way that you perceive chiropractic, the way you perceive yourself, and the way you perceive other people. And in that, your experience in chiropractic, to me, has evolved and elevated. I have such a joy being in practice and working with people and knowing that there is no roof on where this can go. And, Dr. Talsky's testament that you could spend every single year of your practice, now 55 years in practice, getting better and better. And so we shot this module with Dr. Talsky. It's out now. Tomorrow right now it's $150 off. What we do is we always do a launch promo for the first week a new seminar or a new online course launches. So for those of you who don't have it, I believe Dr. Jordan Fairley posted the link to the module. You have until tomorrow night to get the $150 off this module. Dr. Marvin Talsky to come lead a seminar near you, please reach out to him. You can reach him at talskytonal@icloud.com, or you can find him on Facebook and send him a message there. And if you can't get a hold of him, get a hold of me and I'll get a hold of him.
Or you can call.
Or you can call him. You want to give your phone number?
Sure. 847-828-4108. But
Cool.
I currently have 2 seminars set up for the spring, more in negotiation.
Cool.
The first seminar will be in Kansas City. The first time I'm going to teach in Kansas City. That's February 28th, 29th, and March 1st.
Cool.
Kansas City. And Chris Brown is my sponsor there, who's setting it up.
Incredible student, incredible being. It's a beautiful thing.
And I think we have, we definitely have at least 12 people registered there for that, and we cap out at 19.
Somebody's asking for your number again, and if somebody doesn't mind typing it up, just put Dr. Marvin Talsky's number. Jeff Ludwig is asking for your number. So you mind saying it again?
847-828-4108.
Beautiful. Thank you.
And the second seminar that's set up for the spring so far is Minneapolis, April 17, 18, 19.
Mm-hmm.
In Jeremy Fowle's new office.
Awesome.
Jeremy Fowle's been and his associates have been doing my work for the last, I think it's 6 years. And this is the 6th seminar that Jeremy has set up for me. And the last seminar, he adjusted with me.
Sweet.
And so we're capping Minneapolis at 29.
A little higher.
Because
cool.
he's doing adjusting with me.
Nice.
And he's implementing all the new stuff that comes along. He implements right away. And he built this new office to double the size of his physical plant, because that's how fast he's been growing.
Beautiful.
And
people need this work. I'll tell you that much. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
so go ahead.
So that's what I'm looking forward to. The other possibilities, which have not been nailed down yet, are Davenport, Iowa, Dallas, Texas, Atlanta, Georgia for sure. Atlanta, Georgia is going to be on for sure. Possibly Kai Hasselmeyer, the one who sponsored me in Germany.
Yeah.
Was if he can find a date, he told me he wants me out there again.
Cool.
So those are the big ones that are likely to jump on. But I never know what may come up next. I did Dallas, Texas last fall, and that was set up in 2 months. It was not on the radar. It just came along, filled up, and even the venue changed at the last minute.
You figured it out. Yeah, so me personally, I've taken Talsky Tonal 3 times and learned a wide array of something every single time. It just changed. As I evolved, I listened differently and heard things differently and discovered new stuff, and it just got better. And then we also co-taught last year in January with The Power Behind the Art, which is another online course that we have in our back pocket, which will launch soon. So excited for that to get out to people. And again, the seminars are somewhat limited. If you can get to them, please do. And if you can't, you now have an online course for it. So you can have Talsky on your screen. It's over 7.5 hours of content, 90 pages of notes. And it's a beautiful, beautiful online course. Plenty to learn there. I know there's a few of the doctors that are on now. That Alec Morgan. I see Bo Mullen on, who's seen the course. You have something else to say, Dr. Talsky?
Yeah. Yes, I am so grateful to you, Brett, not only for your support and encouragement of others, but uh, for making me do the video. And and now you've guaranteed uh, uh, my work outliving me. And
Mm-hmm.
uh, and yes, the 7.5 hours is a great initial exposure. It is a a learning tool that you can look at again and again, but it doesn't replace a face-to-face live seminar, um, especially after you've seen the video.
Right.
Um, People who come to multiple seminars, like you, Brett, uh, 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 it's hard for them to believe that they're going to learn as much as they do, even after they've been to several seminars.
Right. There's something in the experience, and I do know that people will have powerful shifts in their being from learning the principles. It will change the way you practice, and it's a beautiful way to interact with people that don't have that opportunity, and or to combine it and to continue to learn even deeper. Dr. Tosky, I love you, brother. I appreciate you. I know it's a little bit later where you're at. You're 2 hours ahead of us here in California. So thank you for taking the time to be on. Any last words for the people before we get off here?
Yeah, I just gave you the last words. I always love talking with Brett because, um, what comes through me is based on the questions that people ask.
Mm-hmm.
And Brett always brings new stuff through me.
and
But
you do the same thing to me, brother. So it's mutual. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We love you. We appreciate you. Thank you for your dedication to your craft, to chiropractic, and to humanity. Your work will always live on within us all, and now in the online platform. And I just hope that we can do our best possible to make sure that it reaches more people. Thank you for being here with us tonight, the Godfather of Tonal Chiropractic, Dr. Marvin Talsky.
thank you.